I'm leaving this meeting. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hi guys, sorry for the delay. We're having some technical difficulties, but we're going to get started on the webinar. So I do apologize for the delay today, but we're going to jump right into doing the demo. So please feel free to ask any questions as we go along. And I'm here to answer all your Thuya brow lamination questions. Thank you again for your patience. I'm just going to set this camera up for the model. I'm just getting it positioned. Let me know if you guys can see it okay. I'm just going to adjust the camera here. One moment. I'm just getting this in position so you can see everything. But while we're waiting, is anyone currently using Thuya right now or doing any brow laminations? You can type in the chat box and also let me know if you can see the model okay. Just gonna take a look here. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Perfect. Okay, everything's sharp, good. So I'm just gonna open this chat and see. So anyone are you doing any brow laminations currently? And can you hear me okay? Okay. Okay, good. I just want to gauge everyone's like, if they're currently doing laminations, how many people are currently doing it, who's new to brow laminations, who's using Thuya and familiar with the product, just so I know where we are going with this training. And I'm here to answer all questions from beginning to the end. If you've never done a brow lamination and you have a question, please feel free to ask me. This is going to be like an open conversation. So that we can get everyone up to date on laminations and on Thuya. Okay, perfect. I'm glad that you can hear me. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started on the brow laminations, but first I wanna also let you know if you have any questions when this webinar is done, or if you need more educational background on Thuya, we do have some educational elements where you can go. I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see it and you can jot down this information or make note of it. Just going to switch to the information screen here. One moment. Okay, so here's all of our contact information for you to reach out if you have any questions, or if you need a little more help with something that you might have seen today, or if you have any product questions or ingredients, give us a shout out. You can follow us on Instagram at Thuya Eyes Canada. You can also reach us on Facebook at Thuya Canada. In addition, you can also leave us a review of this webinar and visit our educational website, thuyacanada.com. That's going to have past videos. If you're interested in other eye treatments that Thuya offers, such as a lash lift, a lash tint, all those videos are going to be on the thuyacanada.com website. And if you have any educational assistance questions, you can also send us an email at education@cbongroup.com. I'm going to leave this up for a second so that you can make note of that, take a screenshot or take a picture with your phone so that you have that and you can reach out to us if you have any questions or you need any kind of assistance. We're here for you. So I'm just... Okay, perfect. So I want to get right back into the webinar. So I'm just going to close this. And we will start with our brow lamination. Okay. So we have your model. You're going to evaluate the brows. You're going to look at the condition of the brows, ask and see when's the last time your model has had any kind of brow treatments. That includes bleaching, previous tinting, any kind of other lifting that they might have had in previous months. Just making sure that you can see the model. Can everyone see the model again? I'm just seeing that I switched screens back. I'm going to go into full screen mode. Okay. Yes, I'm just going to close. I have share screen on, so I'm just going to get out of the share screen. Guys, sorry, I'm still having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm going to close the share screen. Okay. Okay, can you guys see properly? Because I had the share screen on and I kept sharing like the screen, numerous screens. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna hold on, let me close some. Yeah, it's just doing something really. I think you might have clicked something. I think because when I shared the screen, let me see. Did you hit stop sharing on your end? Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
Just close this and reopen. Yeah, just close that. Reopen it. app now, but we just have to unblur this. No,
Hi, guys. Are you able to see?
the camera's not connected. I'm putting my hand here, it's not doing anything.
Mm-mm.
So close and reopen your camera. Like your Zoom.
Close this.
Oh,
This one or it's
oh, it
Zoom?
stayed open. I thought we closed that.
I don't know.
Your Zoom is frozen, so just close that completely. Go back to your Zoom, take it off the camera, and then take off your camera and put it back your camera. Now put your camera on. Cannot start video. So right click it and choose the right video.
Yes, it's still choosing.
Do
So
Logic Capture. Logic Brio, sorry, it is on Logic Brio. Now click it. Click your camera and see now if it's gonna open it.
okay, yeah. Do you want me to go back and try and see if it?
No, because you're getting that
That echo.
thing. I don't know why you're getting that on yours. There we go. Okay, now that it's open, try now. But you should just.
Okay, so guys, are you able to see the models now with the browse? I'm sorry, I had to readjust the camera. I see that it's good now. Is that good for everyone?
No, because you got to now you use it's still doing it from your apps. Now try to open up capture and let's see what it does. It froze to the where you had it with the capture one.
Okay, let's, so do you want me to go back to capture?
Yeah.
Guys, I'm still setting this. I do apologize.
Yeah, you'll have to wait till that opens and then select it on your camera. So that's slowly open up your Zoom for a second again.
It's here. Okay, I could just get started and then.
Yeah, the one that you might have to, it's zoomed in so much that anything you do, it's gonna blur it. Any movement you do, so just start it, but just you might have to put this higher.
Let's see. Guys, I'm just gonna switch to the other camera. One moment.
Third one down below, Logic Capture, yeah. But it might say it's not available. Okay, so now it is. Okay, so but you still got to go turn it on after on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
You can okay, go on.
Okay, is that better, guys? Is that sharper?
I would still zoom it out because it's browse. I would zoom it out so they can see a bigger portion of the browse. And this one you could always make it a little bit downwards. Like, yeah, see when it goes a bit bigger, I think they'll see better that way. And just center it.
Is that good?
Yeah, so do this arrow on that. Yeah, no, sorry, the left side. Yeah, and center it. I think that's better than having two.
Okay.
If it was lashes, different story. Do it one more time so I can center it. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
Oh, no, go just one, do one at a time. That should the one. Do one more. It's fine.
Okay, it's too
Okay,
slow.
yeah.
Okay, perfect, guys. So sorry. Everything is good. Sharper image now. We can see. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So it's all good, right? Everyone gives me a thumbs up. Perfect. So we're going to get started. Now that the technical difficulties are over, you can hear me good as well. Is that correct? Okay, so we have our model here today. We're going to be doing the brow lamination. So as I was saying before, you want to take a look at the quality of your model's brows. You're going to brush them to see the way that the brows naturally grow. If there was previous processing done to the brows, you want to ensure that you're starting this process on a good structure. So the hairs should be all good. If your client doesn't, you can definitely recommend some before treatments to do to their brows before they actually have the brow lamination. But our model's brows are good. We are good to laminate her. So what you want to first start, which I did before, is by brushing the brows, just to make sure when you're brushing with a spoolie, you can see the direction that the hairs grow. It also enables you to see if there's any like drier or dead skin. It kind of gently exfoliates the eye area. So these are all steps that you want to take prior to doing your brow lamination. Now, Thuya has a number of products. Keep in mind with Thuya, it's not just about the brow lamination. Our products incorporate caring and nurturing. So it's going to be a bonus. It's a treatment and a cosmetic beauty source, I guess you can say. So we're going to start with the pre-smoothening solution. So what this is, if you have someone with thicker, maybe coarser brow hairs, you're going to use this pre-smoothening solution. This is only for brows only. You would put this on the brow hairs about 5 minutes prior to your treatment, and you would just brush it on. So you can put a little bit in a dampen dish and apply it. Has anyone worked with a client who's done brow laminations or even tints with really coarse hairs? Like, let's say male hairs are typically tend to be coarser. Even some of our mature clients with grays and silver in their brows. It's very hard to control those hairs because they do their own thing. Once the hairs lose their pigment, they kind of become really wiry, right? And those wiry hairs, they have their own life. They do what they want to do. So this pre-smoothing treatment would be ideal for you to use on a client who has silver, white brows, or even really just coarse hairs, because we want to kind of tame those hairs prior to doing the brow lamination. So using this pre-smoothing, which is only for brows only, we don't use them on the lashes at all. It's not formulated for the lash area. We're going to make sure that we're going to make those hairs soft and supple so that we're able to laminate them in this instance. But this treatment you can also use prior to you even tinting the brows. And how many of you guys have brow lamination? Who's do brow lamination that are people with white brows or silver brows? Has anyone worked on those kind of brows? Can you tell me what kind of experience you had and how did your lamination go when you did it? I'm just really making sure I saturate these brows, and I'm still reading the chat, so go ahead and type and let me know if you've had experience. See, she has some hairs, but they're not wiry. They're just, everyone has one or two hairs that do their own thing. So this is just gonna help soften them and make them more supple and easier for us to laminate in the whole process. So I'm just brushing this on. I really want to make sure if your client has thicker brows, make sure you lift up the hairs with the brush. You can pat it back down. That way we ensure that we're saturating the entire brow area. Now this stays on for about 5 minutes. Okay, not yet. You know, and in my practice, what I try to do, I try to get a lot of everyone to try brow laminations. The most beneficial is anyone who likes bigger brows, but just anyone who wants to tame their brows. If you have like a client with really curly brows or really brows that have their own story, as I like to say, this is a great treatment. So anytime I have a client that comes in for a brow treatment, whether it be waxing or threading, I talk to them about the lamination process. I find that more mature clients aren't aware of the brow lamination because they're not really on social media. There are some that are, and I like to explain to them what it does, what the benefits of a brow lamination is, how it's going to help you have an easier time with your brows. They're going to be more malleable. So when you brush them, they're going to stay where you brush them. And you don't have to worry about having, brows that are telling their own story. So it's really a great opportunity when you do get a client that's coming in for even an eye treatment or any kind of hair removal in the brow area, that you speak to them about brow lamination. The more we educate, the more we're going to get people enthusiastic about trying these new services. So it's a great opportunity when you have someone that's coming into your room and you have that one-on-one time with them to really just talk to them about the benefit and features. And what I also recommend is that you take your own pictures of your before and after brow laminations. You can send them to the Thuya website, which has some really good before and after laminations. But if you kind of tell them to go Google, they're going to pull extremes for the brow laminations. And that client that's in your bed right now might not be an extreme person. So if you take your before and after pictures of your own brow laminations and show them what a brow lamination can be, this is going to be a good benefit and a good selling feature for you to get more clients who are interested in brow lamination. It's just really great to not really have to worry about your brows for at least 4 to 6 weeks and how they're going to lie flat or not lie flat. So it's a great benefit, and male clients too want this benefit. Everyone wants easy beauty care. And with the Thuya products, we're also helping to repair, hydrate, and nurture the hair at the same time. So although it's a chemical process with benefits, it's actually a treatment. So it's a 2-in-1. Does that make sense to everyone? Do you know how you would approach it? I talk about everything when I have a client and in my bed, especially beauty treatments that I think they would be interested in. So it's a really great benefit. So it's been 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove any excess moisture. We don't have to rinse it off, but with the pre-smoothing, you don't want any kind of moisture on the surface. So you just take like a dampened cotton pad and you're just going to pat away any excess moisture that may be sitting there. Okay, perfect. Now, because we had the delay, I did do the cleansing of the brows first with the water-based eye makeup remover. So that would be done prior to putting the pre-smoothing on, but I did that off camera because I want to make sure that I get on all the brow lamination information for you guys. But the cleansing, you would start with the eye makeup remover. This is water-based and it has curcuma in it, so that will take off any kind of residue that might be in the brows. It just cleans it and preps it and gets it ready. Your second step would be the pre-smoothing solution if your client needs it. If your client has thinner brows or they're not that unmanageable, this might be a step that you skip. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to start with your permanent gel. So this is the permanent gel. All of our permanent gels come in an aluminum tube, which is really great. They have a nozzle here. When you first open it, it has a ring around the neck. That's just for safety, and this is sealed with an aluminum seal. So everything comes fresh from the factory. You know, you're not getting anything that might have been exposed to air. This one's used, so I don't have the seal, but first time you use it, you want to remove the ring from around the neck, and then you just twist on the lid. There's a little puncture in the actual lid that will open the foil seal, and then your product's good and ready to use. But if you've used it like I have, you don't want to use the first drops that come out of the product. The reason is because anything inside this nozzle has already oxidized, right? So we don't want to use oxidized product. It's less efficient, and it's not going to give you the best results for your client. So what I do is I excrete the first little bit of product. It's usually a slightly shade darker in color, and then I would use whatever comes behind it. So you can see it's a little more clearer. Sometimes it's even more noticeable if it's oxidized, where it's a lot more pinky. This one's just slightly more pink, but still you should always get into the habit of removing the first droplets of products in any of your aluminum tubes that contain either the permanent gel or the color. Okay, so what I like about the perm, that it is clear. I'm gonna get rid of this other one that we're not gonna use. So what is the processing time for those who do the brow lamination right now? what's the processing time on your products? I'm just gonna start applying the permanent gel and really brushing it in there. So the processing time for the permanent gel for the Thuya is 15 minutes. Does anyone have any products with a similar processing time, longer or shorter? You can type it right there in the chat box. So as you see, I'm lifting the hairs, really making sure that we saturate the brows and gently brushing them up. This is before you would sit your client down when you do your patch test. You would ask the client what kind of look were they wanted. Did they want a fluffy brow? Did they want a really laminated brow? So this is discussions that you would have. Now keep in mind that you may do it in one cell, but the brow is going to be malleable. So that client will have the ability to shape it after they leave your spa or your salon into the shape that they desire. I've applied that one. I'm just really making sure that it's saturated. Yes, 15 minutes even for fine hair. The reason why Thuya has really crafted the solutions to not over process the hair. So these hairs, this permanent gel will work. I've tried it on really thick hair and I've tried it on fine hairs, and you know what? I get the same results through and through. The only thing I would recommend if the hairs are really coarse to use the pre-smoothing solution, because you're going to get hairs that are better softer and more malleable, so meaning that you can move it easier. That's the only recommendation. But if they have the fine hairs or normal hairs, I've never had an issue using the product with over processing, and I've done all types of brows. Because there's stuff in this, there's ingredients in here that are going to care and nurture the brows as well. So it reduces the likelihood that you'll get over processing. And if your client is sticking to the regular regimen of getting their brows laminated on a 6-week basis, is on average the amount of time, then there will not be any issues with them over processing. That's why you also want to ask the questions, what have they done to their brows? Although you may be their beauty specialist, they might have done things at home. So it's always good habit to ask the clients if there were any treatments that they have done. Even if you haven't done the treatment yourself, they might be doing some experimental brow treatments at home, right? I'm just cleaning up the extra permanent gel because I don't like any excess product on the skin. So this is the part, the perming part is important because what it's doing is it's breaking down the bonds of the hair. It's going to make those hairs like little moist noodles, boiled noodles, right? So they're going to be able to be shaped in the way that we want. Now, if you do have a client with hairs that don't seem to lay down, we also recommend that you use the osmotic film. So this is another product. I'm going to show you it's a film wrap that you would put over the brows. Now, if they want really laminated, you would press it down really hard. And it's just normal. I just like to just tap it. And this is great for people with thicker brows too, because what happens is you're able to see the product underneath there and making sure that all those hairs get coated. For sensitive skin clients, we do have a protection cream that they can use. It's a protection, but I find that I've never really had an overly product with anyone having a reaction. That's why I do make sure I do clean the area, as you saw with the cotton bud, to make sure it's not lying on the skin, that I'm keeping it generally localized in the area where the brow hairs are. But if you do have a client that you know that is super sensitive, you can put the protection cream, I would say at least 2 millimeters from the brow to safeguard it from any irritation on the brows. But I wouldn't use the film probably with that, because once you press the film down with the protection cream, you're going to be moving the protection cream. So my advice is if you use the protection cream because you have an extremely sensitive client, not to use the film with it, because the likelihood of you pressing the protection, which is a petroleum-based cream, cream down into the perm solution, it kind of negates it. Anywhere that petroleum cream reaches, the hairs are not going to get permed. So just keep that in mind. You can use the film on anyone's brows. So someone who wants a really pressed down and laminated look, you can put the film on those brows. Someone who has thick brows or unruly, you can use film. So the film could be used on anyone. I've had a client before that had like really short brow hairs, and the film really helped with keeping those in position, because in the first beginning stages, when you perm it, they kind of go back into the position. But when you put the film down, you can really keep it in the desired up position for the brow lamination. Does that make sense? So what you're going to do with the brows too, we're going to check it. Since this is a 15-minute processing time, you're going to go in and check the brows about every 5 minutes. Okay, perfect. I'm glad that makes sense. And so how we check the brows is we're going to take our brush. You can use a spoolie if you like. I really like the Thuya brushes because they're really handy, and the bristles are pretty stiff that I can move the brows as well. But if you have a preference, or you have someone with super thick brows and you want to use a spoolie, you definitely can use that. So what I'm doing is I'm just checking to see if the hairs go back into position. So they are slightly slowly going back. How we know this is completely processed when the time comes is that they will stay over to the side that I pushed them. So these are processing really well because they have a slow return back, which means the perm is penetrating the hairs. So you want to check this. The reason you're like, oh, why do I have to check it every 5 minutes? The reason being is because you don't want to get to the last minute of the 15 minutes and realize that she might have needed a little more solution here, or that you missed a hair here, or it wasn't enough solution to begin with. By you checking it as you go along, you're going to be able to correct any issues that might come up before the end of the solution timing. So it's really important. You don't want to have your client sitting here or lying here, I should say, for 15 minutes and then realize that you missed a hair maybe down here, which you could have rectified had you checked it when you put the solution on. So that's why we check it. We want to make sure that we're using our time efficiently and that the product is penetrating. And we don't know everyone's hair type. Like her hairs could be really resistant to product, right? And if her hair type is resistant, I might have to go in and add a little more perming solution to really saturate the hairs. So that's why we go in and check it about every 5 minutes. I'm just going down to see if there's any questions that I might have missed. Yes, so I've been using this for different hairs. I think I hit the wire. Let me adjust it. So you can see how her brows are there. Let me just move it back. So I press down the brows, but I don't press it down too hard. But if she really wanted a lamination, you can press it down even further so that it's tighter around the area. And are you okay? Are you okay there? And I just like to check in with the client too. I know it's like on the brow area, but you never know. Always make sure that your client's okay. Okay, perfect. So a lot of benefits that I've gotten from other webinars that people are saying their clients have actually improved the brow hair by doing these treatments. Because keep in mind, the processing time is longer because it's a treatment at the same time. So everyone knows if you've done like any kind of deep conditioning treatments for the hair on your head or under eye, there's a certain amount of time that you need to leave product on in order for it to release all of the ingredients that's going to be beneficial to your hair or your skin. And it's the same way with Thuya. Our processing times are formulated so that you're getting the treatment in the same processing time. Generally, most processing time for any kind of treatment is anywhere from at least, I would say, 5 minutes up to 15 minutes to get the most beneficial. And that's what we have here. So they're getting a treatment at the same time that we're processing these hairs. I generally find that my clients' hairs look better once it's laminated than when it's started. I'm not just talking about overall appearance. I'm actually talking about the condition. It looks healthier and shinier after they get their brows laminated and tinted. Now, lamination is picking up where I'm working. Does anyone find that you have more people coming in asking about the brow lamination process? So this is my final check of the brows, and everything is really perming really nicely. And we're going to press that down. So because the perming solution breaks down the bonds, the next step of it will be to lock in the shape. So by locking in the shape, that's what the neutralizer does. In another 3 minutes, I'm going to add the neutralizer onto her brows. So we've got to really make sure that we remove all of the perm solution. Reason being that if you don't remove the perming solution, or you still have perming solution on the brows at the time that you go in with the neutralizer, it's going to cancel the process out. So the perm and the neutralizer, if they meet, it will cancel. So you're not going to have any kind of lift on the brows. So that's why it's really important to make sure that you remove all of the perming solution. And I say also throw out this plastic wrap and get a new one, because if you use the same wrap and you put it down over the neutralizer, you're doing essentially the same thing. So I put this brow down first, so I'm just going to start removing this one. Now, if you want to do it like that, I sometimes just leave the wrap on half the brow so that one can still process. And I usually always start removing with the brow that I applied first, because the timing is going to be slightly off so that I'm completely moving the product in the correct amount of time, the 15 minutes. So this is a dry removal, no water. You can use a cotton bud if you like. I'm just using a square cotton round and just really making sure that I pull through. I don't want to see any color on this. If I see any kind of purple color, because once the perm starts to oxidize and process, it turns to a violet color. So I'll show you over here. So you see that violet color, that's the perming solution. So you want to make sure you don't get any of that color by the time you do your second or third swoop. That ensures that you've gotten all of the perming solution off. Now here's where the styling becomes really important, because we're going to put the neutralizer on. And as I said, the neutralizer really locks in the shape. No, the cotton is dry, so we always do dry removal. Reason being is you don't want to introduce any moisture into the brows, because we've opened up the hair cuticles. We're adding in water. That's going to weigh it down. It's going to actually dilute our process. So we make sure that we do everything a dry removal. At the end, once we neutralize, and there's a, after you neutralize and there's, the cuticles are closed up from the neutralizer, then you're welcome to do a rinse if needed. But dry removal is how we go the majority of the way. So I'm going to start with the neutralizer. This is it here. We do offer 2 types of neutralizer. There is a cream, this is the cream one, and there's a liquid one. It's just a matter of preference. You can use the liquid on brows, or you can use the cream. I like to use the liquid on the lashes too, because they're so much finer, it's easier to work through. So I'm using a clean brush, also a Thuya brush as well, and I'm going to work the neutralizer through the brows. Now don't be afraid to lift them, because you can easily shape them back into the position that you want. But if, like I said, you want to make sure you're neutralizing all of those hairs. So what I like to do is like a lifting and push back motion. So I lift those hairs up, put the back, and then press them down. You just want to make sure everywhere you had previously put that perming solution that you're putting that neutralizer. Lifting up. And now I like to, because this is the lock-in stage, I like to make sure that I'm shaping the brows in the shape that I desire, right? So if you're combing it through for really thick brows, you can do that. I like to use the brush because her brows are not thick and they're not thin. They're just like medium density. So I can use the brush to move it. But like I said, if you have someone who has thicker brows, you may want to use a mascara brush. So what I'm doing here, I'm just cleaning up the brows. I like to see the shape with the neutralizer on it. And keep in mind, if we're going to do hair removal after, all hair removal comes after we do any chemical process. So the same for tinting, the same for any kind of waxing or threading, always after you do the chemical process. So if you had a client coming in to do a brow lamination, you do the brow lamination first, and then you do the hair removal. I know when you see the videos online, their brows are already waxed and shaped. Hopefully they did that like a few days before, but you never want to do it the same day before the lamination. The reason being is you're going to increase the likelihood of your client having any kind of irritation with the chemical product. So to reduce that, you always do the hair removal after. And what's the benefit of doing the hair removal after is that it just gives you really clean lines after you tint it. So I'm just really saturating it through, pulling it through, and then I'll come in with my cotton bud and clean it up. Yes, I do find that when you use the mascara bristle brush to do the shaping, it takes off a lot of product. So you may have to go in and add more neutralizer or perming solution, because like if you use mascara, you know, a lot of product gets caught up in the bristles. So you would have to use slightly more product. That's why I prefer using the brush, just because I can always press down the brush and release this product that I picked up. So that's just a slightly, you know, the bristles have their job to do, but they do take up a little more product. So you'll slightly be using more product with them. You can also look into having a coarser brush, but honestly, the Thuya brushes are really good. The bristles are stiff enough that you can get a lift, but if you have someone who has like really thick brows, you may need to do the bristles first. You can do a dry brush through first, like after you perm it and remove the product, and then brush on the product with the Thuya brush. That way you can reduce the amount of product that you're wasting in the bristles. Okay, so I'm just pressing this down now. So the neutralizer is the same, about 15 minutes. Do we do tinting after that? So yes, any chemical. So you can do tinting right after you do the brow lamination. The reason why you don't do the tinting before the brow lamination, because the whole chemical process opens up the cuticles. Whenever you open up the cuticles, it's good for depositing or removing, just like in hair color. So if we were to tint her brows first and then do the brow lamination, we would be stripping her hair of the color that we deposited earlier. So we do the coloring after, because the cuticles are already slightly opened after the lamination process, and it's going to deposit a lot quicker the color. Now, for when you're doing the neutralizer, you don't need to do any kind of checking. Once you're at the neutralizer stage, what's done is done. So there's no checking needed. It's only the perming that it's important that you check to make sure that the hairs are being penetrated by the permanent gel. If you want, you can offer a nice hand massage to your client. You don't want to do anything here, but you can do like just a gentle forehead massage, just as long as you don't touch the brows, right? It's just a nice treat. You can do a hand massage too as well. We're gonna let this neutralize. Now, Thuya has a really 9 colors in the color family, a lot of common colors. You don't necessarily have to mix unless you have a specific blend of colors that you want to do. We have a, what I'm gonna use is probably the brown for her tenting. I'm going to show you this. If I needed it slightly darker, I can add just a hint of the black. So we can do a black brown combination. I find that if you leave the brown on full, it goes to a nice dark, rich chocolate brown. But if you wanted it slightly more intense, you can add just a hint of the black tint in there. Yes, I can definitely, actually, you know what? I have a screen for it. So at the end, I'll show the screen with all the products. It's nicely displayed so that you can see the whole list of the Thuya products that I used here for the brow lamination. There's actually the brow lamination kit. It comes in one little nice kit. I have it here, so I'll show you what while we're waiting for the brows to neutralize. The only thing that doesn't come in the kit is so this is the Thuya brow lamination kit. I'm trying to see where I can put that. So everything comes in a nice little box. It's all neatly contained. I'm going to show you the picture at the end as well so that you can see. I can position myself here. So everything comes in here that you need to do the brow lamination. So it's really great if you work in a spa or salon with other people and you need to really keep everything organized, or if you're a traveling esthetician or you do your brows on the go, you just, everything in the box is there. So it has our regenerating cream, which you use after every lash and brow treatment. It also contains the permanent gel, which you would need, and the neutralizer. It's the cream neutralizer here. So this is everything that you would need to do a brow lamination. The only two things that I recommend you get that's not included in the kit would be the prep, which would be the water-based eye makeup remover. That's not included. And then the tint. We come in 9 colors, but you can, if you're just starting out, you can just pick up the tint and the oxidant for the colors that you most likely will use. Brunette is a really big color, but if you have a clientele that's more blonde or might have like redhead, we do have colors for those specifically, but I find that the most common color that people get, because like more than half the world are brunettes, would be the brown color. So if you were just starting off your kit, I would recommend you to get the brow lamination kit, plus the brown tint and the special solution, which is our oxidant. So the service, for the price for the service, so I'm going to go down the questions. Yes, so on the Thuya website, you can see the color variations. They have them all nicely displayed. I'm just going down in order, and you would be able to see all the colors there. And the ratio, yes, when I get to the tinting, it is 1 to 1. So it's whatever you use, 1 drop of tint for like 1 centimeter of color, or 1 rice grain of color. You can use any tint with the with this line, but the benefit of using the Thuya tint is that you're going to get the complete treatment. So from A to Z, they're getting the treatment at the time that you perm it. There's lots of ingredients in our permanent tints that aren't in other ones, such as olive oil, there's argan, there's things, provitamin B5. So there's things that's going to improve the actual hair quality of your client. And I'm sorry, I'm just reading your question now, Catherine. Yes, they did change the neutralizer packaging. So they're both our neutralizer. It is the same product. I think about February of this year, they changed the neutralizer packaging. So it is different. I got mine. I still have the old packaging, but the one that you have with the gray logo, that's the newest packaging that they have. So you're good. These products are good 12 months after opening. So you're good. It's just a new packaging, yes. So don't worry, it is still Thuya, it's just new packaging. And for the price list for the service, I have a chart as well. We can send you the chart as well. It's also listed on the Thuya website as well for the pricing, but depending on your area for the brow laminations, price varies from anywhere from 95. The lowest I've seen is about 65, but on average it's about 95 to like $100 for the brow lamination and tent combo. Okay. So it's about another let me see. Oh, another 3 minutes on the neutralizer. So what I'm gonna, because I started with this, I'm just gonna slowly remove this one. I'm removing it with the cotton bud. You can use it with a round. The reason why I'm using the cotton bud, I just feel I have more control over sweeping the brows upwards. And I know it's hard to see if you removed all the product, but you can actually feel it because this is white. You're not gonna see any tint or color residue on here. So I'm just gonna go over till I don't feel the product anymore on the cotton bud, meaning it's a little harder when I'm pushing. Right now it's just sliding because it's so neutralizer. You're welcome. Or you can use, I'm just gonna show you, you can use a big cotton round, or mine is actually a square, to remove the solution. No water yet, this is still all dry removal. I wouldn't recommend introducing any water until you get to the removing the tint. Okay, so we remove the neutralizer from that brow, and I'm gonna go into this brow. I'm just gonna do the same thing. And remember, you want to keep the integrity of the brow. So you've just spent your time shaping them into a slightly upward and over. Make sure you remove it in the same fashion. Don't do windshield wiper on the brow because the hairs they've locked in the shape, but there's still setting time. So there's still that 24 hours before they follow hair cuticles to close even more. So if we do things like rubbing them, introducing excess humidity, sweat, moisture, oil products. This is all things you want to advise your client against in the first 24 hours, not sleeping face down in a pillow, because we want them to be happy with our service. We want their brow lamination to last as long as possible. So we're going to tell the client the pre-care things they need to do. It's not a lot, and it's only for the first 24 hours, but I would caution your client if they are using any kind of brow growth serums to avoid using it during the brow lamination or after. They can use it, but their lamination is not going to last as long. They might not get a full 6 weeks out of the brow lamination. They might get maybe 6 weeks. I'm sorry, they might get 3 weeks as opposed to 6 weeks because the oils are pretty heavy that they use in the brow growth. So here's the tint that I have. So I'm just going to excrete the first bit of product. As you can see, it went from really dark to really light. So that dark product is the old product. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to pour out the fresh product there. And I'm just going to use a little bit of the black, just because I just want to make it slightly darker to complement the skin tone, not much. And the ratio I'm probably using is like 70-30. I'm going to show you before I mix. I've already excreted that. So that's the black there. That's probably the ratio that I'm going to use, about a 70-30 ratio. You can mix this as you get comfortable mixing tints and using other colors and doing combinations. You kind of find the right, color coordination that will work best for your clients. The more you do tinting, the more comfortable you get with mixing the colors. So I'm just going to add the solution. Like we said, it is a 1-to-1 ratio. So there is a cream solution and there's a liquid. I'm going to use the special solution liquid, but honestly, you can use either, whatever you're comfortable with. And because I have about 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm using about 3 drops to the solution amount. So I would do 1 drop to 1 rice grain of color, and I have about 3 rice grains of color here. So I'm just going to mix that. I like mixing it with a brush. Make sure it's a clean brush that you're using. Let me show you here. I'm just really kind of like pressing it down and blending it at the same time. We want to get this a really creamy consistency. You can kind of do that in the first 60 seconds. Now, if you're not comfortable with, if you're worried about tinting the skin, you can put the special solution cream around the brows. I would recommend leaving 2 millimeters away for the brows because you don't want to accidentally get it on the tips of the brows and then don't get a color reading there. So that's the consistency that you should be looking at when you're doing the tint, kind of like a cream, a loose cream. And then I'm just going to go in, I'm going to blend that color on the client's brows. You can lift up if you need to. Now keep in mind that I do like waxing after because this will be so clean once you, even if there's a little bit of excess tint that got on the skin, when you wax it, you're generally exfoliating the skin. So that superficial tint on the top layer would be removed. So it gives really nice sharp lines. But I really like to be clean as I go. Now, because we did the lamination before, you don't need to leave the tint for the complete 15 minutes. You can do it for roughly about 10 minutes for the color to penetrate because we've already opened up the hair cuticle and it's going to accept the color easier and faster. Now, what's really great is once you start using the tinting colors, you can figure out which colors work best. When I do my brows, because I have really full brows, I like to do a shadowing effect. So I more tend to just get a fuller, not a deeper look. And I would use something just probably the brown alone. Now, if your client has thinner brows, they might be able to take a little more color in the brows. So you would be able to use maybe just a deeper, richer color because it's not going to look so overly big if that's not what they want. If they want that, fully give them the deeper, richer color. So this is also important why you want to do the consultation with your client on what type of brow look they're trying to achieve. And as you see, I like to clean up as I go. So I always have like a brush in one hand and a Q-tip in the other. It also saves you time at the end if you're cleaning up as you go, where you don't have to worry about going back in and trying to remove the tint. Just if you clean it up before the tint starts to oxidize, it'll really save you a lot of time. So do the Q-tip and the brush combo. I'm just gonna bring this up slightly because she has a slightly higher brow star. I try to also do brow correction at the same time. So if I can see it's a little bit wider here, I try to even it out a little bit more here with the tint. Like that's what we're here for, right? We want our client to look their best. So if we can do a little bit of correction that's going to improve the brow shape, then that's what we do. Yes, so threading you would still do after because threading, you keep in mind that it's causing friction on the skin. Threading also exfoliates the skin as well, right? So any threading you would do after the tint. And if your client wants it a little bit lighter in the front, where you're doing a gradual fade to the end, you can remove the front sooner. Kind of like a graduated brow. So I'm just going to take off some of the front because I know she likes it a little bit softer. And you can do that just with a cotton bud. And I also really like to see the hairs in the brows. So that's part of the reason why I typically do it is because I really like to see the individual hairs. And you can do that when you kind of lift the color in the beginning. This one I'm going to put a little more down. Don't dump out your solution too quickly. I also like to keep my solution because if I find that maybe there's not as much color, you can always go back in and add a little more color. So don't rinse out your dish with the color until like the very end. Because if you've missed something, you can always go back and add it in with the actual brush. So that's a key thing. I know you're cleaning up for the next client, but keep your brush and then you would be able to touch up where you need to instead of mixing a whole batch of solution. You can use a damp cotton pad to remove the neutralizer. Actually, I would recommend using the solution with the turmeric. It's not wrong, but it's because at the neutralizer, if you feel you need to use it, you can use a solution of moisture because the follicles are already closed majority of the way, 70% of the way. So you can, if you feel you need to. Her brows are dense enough that I'm able to wipe it all off. But if you have someone with thicker brows and you feel that you need to dampen the cotton bud, you can. So it's not wrong. It's just, if you need to, you can. The Thuya skin tint does stain the skin. I wouldn't say for weeks, but you would get a few days. I would say probably about 3 days on the skin with the tint. But if you don't want it in a certain area, I just recommend you clean up as you go. It will definitely tint anything behind the hairs because we brushed it on, but it does give us skin reading, but it's not going to be a permanent one. So advise your client, they'll probably get about 2 days maybe out of this skin staining on average. Okay, so I'm going to go in and remove the breast. Now this is the middle part. I'm going to remove this middle part here. You always want to leave the tail end for last because you want that to be completely sharp, right? We want the darkest part of the brow typically to be this part right here, the tip. So I always wait and leave that to the very last point because that's an indication of a really good sharp brow is a sharp tip, like a sharp pen. Okay. So I leave that and I'm just taking this out. I'm going to go through it after and just moisten it with the cotton pad using the Thuya with water-based remover. They can wash your face. So when I have a client that's done a tint or brow lamination, I say they can wash their face, but avoid the eye area for the eyebrow area for the first 24 hours. We don't want soaps with sulfate in there, that's good, or any kind of cleansing oils in there that's going to start stripping the color of the hair or even weighing down the lamination process before those hair cuticles fully get to close. And that generally takes about a 24-hour time frame. So when you're speaking to your client after care, and it's a 24 hours, you want to tell them, avoid cleansing or excessive moisture or humidity in the brow area for the first 24 hours. And I let them know when you clean your face, avoid cleaning the eyebrow area just for the first 24, avoid wearing any kind of eye makeup in there with the powders just for the first 24 hours. Then they can go back to the regimen. But I also let them know with a strong warning that if you're using anything with oils in there, or that's going to weigh down the brows and their lamination's not going to last as long. Now I dry remove first, and now I'm going to go in with a moistened cotton pad with the Thuya water-based makeup remover. There's no oil in here. It has the curcuma in it, which is the turmeric, which is really good for soothing. So someone was saying they had a client with really sensitive skin. Using the water-based eye makeup remover with the curcuma before and after is really going to help someone who is likely to have an inflammatory response. It's going to help soothe that skin. And when I'm cleaning the excess out, I'm doing an upwards motion. I'm not going crazy. And you want to tell your client, just be mindful how they sleep for the first 24 hours, right? We don't want them going face first into the pillow, sleeping all snuggling up in their pillow all comfy and ruining their brows for the first 24 hours. Yes, I'm using a moistened one now, and it's moistened with the Thuya water-based makeup remover with curcuma in it. So it's going to soothe her skin as well. And when we do this, we're always going to finish. We're going to seal the deal and finish with the regenerating cream. So this regenerating cream is a take-home product for your client. They can use this. It has sun protection. It's going to hydrate the brows. It's going to keep them nourished, prevent them from drying out. It's a treatment, essentially. It has stuff to improve the growth of the brows, and they're going to use this on a daily basis. Probably recommended at night because it is a cream, but it is kind of like an oil-based cream. And you're going to finish every Thuya treatment with this product. Just brush it through the brows. It's also going to help them with the shape of their brows too, right? There's a nice sheen on there. I just want to really make sure. Out of this one tube, if one client was to use it, they're going to get, I believe it's about 165 uses. So they wouldn't have to replace this twice a year. If you're using it just on like either just brows or lashes, because you get multi-use out of this. And this is something that you want to use every time you do a treatment with Thuya, but you also want to give this to your clients so that they can take it home and that they are able to care for their brow hairs in between their brow lifts and lash lifts. And I did use a wet cotton there, moistened with, I'm just making sure I got your question, moistened with the Thuya water-based eye makeup remover with curcuma. So this is the brow lamination. It still looks very natural. If you want to open your eyes. But it just gives her that height. It gives her really nice, yes, they can use this cream daily. I would recommend at night. But it's definitely welcome. It's going to help also preserve the color of the hair so that the color of the hair will last longer and fade less. Are there any other questions? No, I don't know if I think I answered the question before about the damp cotton pad to remove the neutralizer. It's dependent on the thickness of your client's hair. It's not wrong, but like I said, I prefer to use the water-based eye makeup remover with curcuma in it to remove any kind of product from the brow. If you need to use it, you're definitely welcome to. So you can use it wet or dry. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can bring up that product shot for you guys so that you can see all the products. I have a nice product page. See if I'm able to bring that up and show you so that you can see all the products that I used here today. Let's see. And you will be receiving I believe a video copy of this webinar as well. So do you see how easy it is to do a brow lamination? The brow lamination is a great income generator and it's super easy. It also is a service that you can do with another service because there's time in between. So you could do a lash tint at the same time or a brow lift. So you can do a multi-service. Yes, you will get a copy. There will be a copy of this link sent to you. I'm just pulling up the product here so I can show you the webinar. I'm just going to see if I have a full product page because I was asked for that. Let's see. And do you have any other questions while I'm looking? Please feel free to type it in there. I'm just looking for that product page for you. Because I'd closed the presentation, but I'm just bringing it back up again. Okay. And I can also okay. So do you see how her brows are really nice? It's not an extreme brow lamination. Like I said, you're always going to do your consultation with your client to see what they're trying to achieve when they do the brow lamination. Maybe they just want to enhance their natural brow shape. And that's what we basically did here today, is just enhance the actual natural brow shape of the client. Nothing too extreme. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm having a hard time searching for that. I'm gonna show you this. So are there any other questions on any application, anything else on using Thuya? Aside from the question on removing wet or dry, any other questions in regards to how you would do the Thuya brow lamination? Okay. Perfect. So I think I appreciate you guys being really patient. I'm going to have the slides sent to you because my computer is being slow bringing up, and I really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today for this presentation and for your patience on on my little technical difficulties. I'm just going to take yes, you can achieve whatever look your client wants. And this is why I say it's important for you to take pictures of before and after, just so that you can actually show your client that, hey, the lamination has many different faces. It's not always the extreme brows look. It can be something really subtle and really soft, such as we did here today. And so if the brow hair turns curly, so we kind of avoid that by checking it, right? So when you're checking it, when you're lifting it, if she needs more product on there, you're gonna go in and add more product. The thing is, the only reason I could see it curling a little bit after is that client introduced excess humidity and moisture to the brows. And if that's the case, I would say you would have to give the time a little bit time to heal. I wouldn't do it necessarily the next day after, because like I said, the cuticles are still open for at least 24 hours. And if we're opening them even more, that could lead to the client increased likelihood of having damaged brows. I would give it at least a week to 2 weeks before you would do the lamination process again. But it may be just due to that client really introducing that excess humidity, so that when they close up, they're still fixed slightly in the shape of whatever moisture it was. I haven't had that yet where the brows have gone curly, but 2 ways of avoiding it is checking it during the lamination process and really stressing to your client not to introduce that excess humidity, and be cautious with the way that they sleep and fix their brows for the first 24 hours. Did that answer your question? So generally, as the new brows grow in and the old ones fall out, then it's generally about a 4 to 6 week processing time, depending on how quickly your client's hair grows. So I generally tell my clients that every 6 weeks to achieve the best results, because by the 6 week time frame, all of those old hairs which we laminated are generally all gone and their regular shape has come back. So they're going to get the full benefit of the lamination process in about a 6 week time frame. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys again so much. I am going to include this slide I'm going to put it at the end of the video so that you can see all the products. I'm just having a hard time pulling it up now, but I will put it at the end of the video and include it so that you can see all of the products that I use here today. I did show it throughout the video, but I know you want to see like everything. So when you go in, you can purchase and you know exactly what you purchase. Okay, so thanks again, everyone. You take care, and I will have the slides sent to you. Okay, thanks again. Bye. Thank you. Bye.